The Middle East is a region of the Asian continent, so there are some of the countries that conform it. Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Argelia, Jordan, Qatar, Bahrain, Lebanon, and Morocco. Okay, the Middle East population is around 411 million people. The population is mainly Arabic, with an exception of the state of Israel that is made up almost entirely of Jewish citizens. The largest urban population is found in Kuwait that has the 98%. Then we have Qatar with a 96%. And the least urbanized is Yemen with a 31%. The official language is the Arabic, but then also have the Persian or the Farsi and then the Turkish. And the Middle East is mainly mining. Okay, about the migrants, they represent a high proportion in the total load of the national population. In 2020, they made up the 88% of the population in the United Arab Emirates, almost 73% in Kuwait, 77% in Qatar, and 55% in Bahrain. Mainly of these immigrants coming from Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Here we have the holistic cultural dimensions. So there we can see like the graphic that represents the dimension and the score of the United Arab Emirates. So the first one is the power distance, that it expresses the attitude of the culture towards these inequalities amongst people. In this case, the score is 74, which means that the people accept a hierarchical order in which everybody has a place and which needs no further any justification. The second one is the individualism, that it is the degree of interdependence a society maintains among its members. In this case, it's a score of 36, so it is considered a collectivistic society. The third one is the masculinity, that it indicates the society will be driven by competition, achievement, and success. So in this case, the score is 52. That means that the dominant values in the society are caring for others and quality of life. Okay, the next dimension is the uncertainty avoidance, that it has to do with the way that a society deals with the fact that the future can never be known. So in this case, the Arab Emirates score 66 on this dimension, and thus has a high preference for avoiding uncertainty. Many countries exhibiting high uncertainty avoidance maintain rigid codes of belief and behavior and an intolerance of unorthodox behavior and ideas. The next one is the long-term orientation, that it means that how every society has to maintain some links with its own past while dealing with the challenges of the present and the future. Dubai has a low score of 22, and they are like mainly people that are normative in their thinking, and they exhibit great respect for its tradition, in this case with the religion. And the last one is the indulgence, that it is like the extent to which people try to control their desires and impulses, and the Emirates has a...
Okay, so taking on account the cultural metaphor, we chose the mosque as our metaphor to represent the not just Saudi Arabia but the most of the Middle East cultures, because the mosque is not just a place of worship, but also a social and cultural center. It serves as a gathering place where people come together to share ideas, to learn, and build community. The mosque can also serve as a symbol of identity and a pride for a particular community or group. It's something very important for that culture. Overall, the mosque as a metaphor highlights also the multifaceted role that the religion and the spirituality can play in shaping, I don't know, the culture and identity. Because it emphasizes the importance of a community, also the importance of sharing some values, and a sense of a purpose in creating a meaningful and a fulfilling life. Now, okay, talking about the typical challenges that could be faced by the people from Middle East in a working environment, for example, we could start by talking about their communication style, because as you may know, people from the Middle East tends to be more indirect in their communication style. They use like these hints to deliver a message, so they could be perceived as ambiguous people or unclear by some individuals that are not used to this kind of communication. Okay, now talking about the work expectations, this could also vary depending on the cultural norms. For example, in the Middle East, they are used to have a longer lunch break, and also they start later to work. And this could be like frustrating for someone who is used to or expects a more traditional work schedule. Now, talking about the attitudes toward the authority, we have to be clear on the fact that in the Middle East there is a strong respect for the hierarchy and the authority, so the individuals are less likely to question the decisions made by their superiors. To other cultures, this can be perceived as submissive or passive, because they are more used to open communication and collaboration. Okay, at the end we have the religion and the cultural practices, and as we know, in the Middle East, most of the population are Muslims, so this means they practice the Ramadan, and this is like fasting during the daylight hours. So for non-Muslim people, they could disrespect this in a working environment by, for example, eating or drinking something in the presence of somebody during Ramadan.
Okay, the Globe Middle East cluster is comprised of the countries like Qatar, Egypt, Morocco, Turkey, Kuwait, etc. The societies belonging of this cluster reflect high scores of the societal cultural practices on the dimensions of in-group collectivism and power distance, or the degree to which the community accepts and endorses authority, power differentials, status privileges, and social inequality. The Middle East societies are highly group and family oriented, indicating that individuals who belong to these societies take pride and loyalties in their families and organizations. Power is not expected to be distributed equally and is seen as providing social order and stability. The performance orientation scores are lower than average. This cluster is also low on dimension of future orientation and particularly low on gender equality. Also, we can see that they are higher than average on human orientation and lower than average in uncertainty avoidance. Other cultural dimensions, including assertivism and institutional collectivism, are rated in mid-range. Overall, these societies are not particularly performance-oriented, but are family oriented with unequal distribution of power and gender inequality in is the norm. Although leadership dimensions viewed as contributing to outstanding leadership include charismatic and team-oriented leadership, these dimensions have the lowest scores and rank relative to those for all clusters. The charismatic attributes that are somewhat endorsed include the realistic vision, high performance orientation, and integrity. These societies also value team oriented leaders whose characteristics include developing outstanding teams and using their administrative and interpersonal skills to create working groups. While participative leadership is somewhat valued, it is the lowest of the clusters. Human oriented leadership is viewed very positive, but only about equally to other cluster scores. Also, while the autonomous score is lower than average, the self-protective dimension has the second highest score and rank of all clusters. These leadership scores show that overall the Middle East leadership profile is unique among the 10 clusters. And supplemental research has provided an explanation as an additional leadership dimension such as familial, humble, and faithful represent to pervasive influence of the Islamic religion in the Arab world.
Okay, now is the time of the interview. We are going to have a special guest. Her name is Maisa Hadik. She is 29 years old. She is from Dubai, and actually she is living there, and their profession is that they work in the hospital sector.
How does the local culture of Dubai impact the way people dress and behave in public settings, such as in malls or restaurants, clubs?
So basically, with the pass of the years, it changed a lot. Like it's totally different. Like maybe 6 years before, or what is compared to now. Dubai it was in the beginning a little bit more conservative compared to Abu Dhabi. However, depending of the time of the year, let's say now we are in the middle of Ramadan, that is the holy month for them. So people are a little bit more like dressing a little bit more conservative compared to the rest of the month of the year. Just because you're living, you're an expat. So you just try to accept and understand the culture as well, and you dress up a little bit more cover, like don't showing much your shoulders or your arms, or like you don't go with mini shorts, to the mall. 90% of the population in Dubai, they're expats, and then 10% actually are local people. So you can see that it's a very tiny amount of locals, that's why people, they try to accommodate, as well, because you're living in a different it's not your country, so you have to respect. Like, you have a little bit of everything. You have people that they don't care, and people that they do care. However, if they see you like too uncovered, like in the mall, let's say in Dubai Mall, that is the biggest and the most popular mall here and around the world, they can ask you to be covered, because of course it is a lot. It's local people over there, and for them it can be very unrespectful as well. And as an expat, there are certain, let's say, neighborhoods that if you go as you were dressed in Colombia or in Argentina, you will feel uncomfortable. As a woman, I'm talking, okay? I'm not talking about as a man. You will feel uncomfortable because they're not used to see the woman's dressing like so open or so freedom, So automatically once you start seeing the eyes on you, you will be like, I will cover because you don't feel comfortable. So, but like I say, within the years, it's changed a lot. Now it's more like, it's more allowed just to go to the shoppings or to the mall, like a little bit more uncovered, and everything's gonna be fine. Even if you go out for dining, and to the restaurants, you can like dress as you were in Colombia. Like nobody's gonna tell you anything. It's just how they look. How they look at you, it can be uncomfortable for yourself, as a woman. I'm talking. Men's, of course, they don't have any problem, as usual.
How do gender roles and expectations vary across different segments of the white society? And how are they changing over time?
Well, in the industry that I work in hospitality, in hotels, and I'm working in restaurants. So it was a little bit overrated, like women's, they still have a lot of rights, but they will have better consideration and opinion of the man first. So for me, I have to, like, you have to have a very strong personality when you come into Dubai as a boss leader, because people, well, I'm not gonna say people, men are not used to take a leads from a woman, like it doesn't matter if you're like European, or if you are like, let's say there is a lot of immigration as well from India, Pakistan, Russia. So I guess that now it's women have more contribution, to the society as compared as was before. And again, if you don't have a strong personality, they eat you alive. That's what I can say from my experience. You have to earn your place as so they don't like subestimate you. Like you have your right to talk, and they have to listen. They will consider it a little bit more compared as before. I think like most of biggest company as let's say Hyatt, Four Seasons, Jumeirah Group. Jumeirah Group is the national local brand. Okay, so now they try to have at least 70% of women's leaders within the hotel. So imagine how much it's changed. A lot, for the past 10-15 years. And still today, we try to just keep like earning a little bit more and a little bit more, like just to be, like with the rights.
The question is that what difference can you find in terms like of non-verbal communication and the way that we like communicate with others here in Colombia and there?
So there are certain things, they try to do or to have diversity in a lot of and different aspects. But there are certain things that they will never gonna change. It's just, for me, to ask maybe my grandmother from Colombia, okay? Because don't forget the Muslims and Catholicism, like any kind of religions, they have their beliefs, It's just to tell my grandmother from Colombia that I'm lesbian. She will never understand it. I'm not, anyway. But it's just to make it that way, The GLT collectivity, it will never, ever will popping up in Dubai. It doesn't mean that they're not. I mean, it's a huge community of LGBT, or whatever. I forget the names of the letters, LTG or what. But it's not allowed. I mean, you cannot be holding hands in public, of course. Culture-wise, when they grow up, they grow up men from one side and women for other side. So I do believe, like, if you don't share time as a, as a whole thing, as a family, or you go out with your friends as you're used to, in Colombia, here they're not allowed. So I guess that's why, and they hide it, of course, like from royalty and their highnesses, there is a lot of gays, and for me it's normal. Here is absolutely insane. And I asked them, because after, like, once you reach work, like I said, work in hospitality, you just get along together with a lot of people, and I asked them, one of them, like, why you cannot just have the freedom of, say, like, like that you prefer to be with somebody else. And the reason is, like, there are certain family names that they have together between the family name. Like, there are arranged marriage that they happens even before the kids are born, until today. Okay, so those people that have the arranged marriage, they cannot say, I'm not gonna get married. It's already done, and what happened maybe between them, between the guy and the girl, is like, why I will get married because I have to, but my sexual orientation is totally different, and they agree. So it's a whole very deep subject to touch, but they are more open mind. The youngest generation, when I say youngest, let's say from 20s to 30s, from 20s and above, they're like super open mind. But they were telling me, like, you cannot expect my grandmother just to accept, like, I'm gonna get divorced, or I don't want to get married, or like, I want to be a lady boss, so because that kind of roles were like more for the male. So still there's some changes, and I think, like, they try, but it will never gonna be like as other countries in Europe,
That what about you were saying before that is about like the work environment there. So how is the relationship, especially that you have like with your boss, So how is it?
Like, it's funny because I have been having a plenty of personalities and nationalities as a bosses. None of them were Arabic. My actual boss now, he's from France. My previous boss was from South Africa, and the one before was from India. I think from those three nationalities, the one that it took me like a little bit, it's like more time to adjust, it was the Indian culture, because again, they are very wachowist, they're like, why I have to hear a woman, like, opinion. I'm not like, but within the time, they also understood, I guess there is a lot of Latin people here living in the UAE. When I say Latin, it's a lot of Colombian, it's a lot of Argentinian. I start coming a little bit more of Spain, from Paraguay. So it becomes, Mexicans are like, you just like pop up a rock and you just like 20 Mexicans around. They really value the Latin American people like a lot, and having a Spanish, like having the Spanish language, it's a plus. They even pay you if you like extra if you speak Spanish. Most of them, they love Mexican food. Actually, that's one of the biggest competition that we have in the market, that are always